Foreword. Patanjali is a legendary Indian who may have lived between 500 and 200 BC. He gave us this treatise on yoga, which delivers profound wisdom in very few words. He wrote it in the Sanskrit language, and many people have translated it into English. Since the wisdom is so compacted, I think it is useful to consider the work of multiple translators simultaneously. Those of us who have studied it in detail sometimes feel fit to comment on it, which may help others to understand it better. Even after having read it many times, I still discover something new every time I return to it. The treatise is presented in the form of sutras, or aphorisms, which are grouped into 4 padas, or books. Each pada is introduced by Charles Johnston, which I reproduce with permission from Universal Theosophy, and concluded by myself. The first is named Samadhi Pada, after the state in which the soul is perceived in totality. It defines yoga and why it is worth pursuing. The second is named Sadhana Pada, after the practices which are necessary to achieve yoga. It details suitable starting points for beginners. The third is named Vibhuti Pada, after the divine power which a practitioner of yoga may encounter. It warns us to guard against becoming infatuated with these powers. The fourth is named Kaivalya Pada, after the state in which, after enlightenment, one moves among ordinary people and does regular activities. It describes the purity and wisdom of people in such a state. Each individually numbered sutra is supported by the following information: a translation and interpretation by Charles Johnston, which I reproduce with permission from Universal Theosophy, a translation by Chip Hartranft, which I reproduce with permission from him, and an annotation by myself. My work is side by side with that of esteemed authors, and I feel like I am standing on the shoulders of giants. Johnston's work makes up most of this book. He was an accomplished theosophical scholar, and his writing can seem quite esoteric to the layman. Therefore, I have tried to make my annotations as concise and straightforward as possible, with the aim that they may be understood by anybody who contemplates them sincerely. I have included Hartranft's translations because sometimes I find them to be more in line with the way I think Patanjali intended them to be understood, compared to Johnston's. My conclusions act as a summary of what has been discussed in each book to help the reader assimilate the information before moving on to the next book. I would like to especially mention my gratitude towards BKS Iyengar, who has encouraged me through the pages of his books in my pursuit of yoga. I hope my efforts in this work live up to a fraction of his standards. I look forward to a lifetime of learning from this treatise. I hope you find as much value in it as I do.